All right, man. I just had to speak on this situation with James Wiseman, the projected number one pick of the 2020 NBA draft. Plays center for Memphis University. The coach is Anthony Hardaway. Crazy story that just came out, man. You know, this kid, like, apparently Anthony Hardaway had paid for this kid to move to Memphis from Nashville years ago. Obviously, the kid was, he's 7 feet now, so I'm sure he was, obviously very tall, and Anthony Hardaway had a lot of potential in him. And the kid ended up moving to Memphis and playing for his AAU team. Anthony Hardaway also was a head coach at a high school. The kid played for his high school. Obviously, they won the state championship. Anthony Hardaway, we all know, was a multiple-time All-Star, one of the greatest point guards, in my opinion, to ever play. Played at Memphis University, was a donor, gave a lot of money to the school, and then all of a sudden he's the coach. And when there was a lot of talk this summer about him having the top recruiting class in America, and getting all these players and this, that, and the third, and immediately I looked at that situation, um, and it's just a lot of red flags. Just Anthony Hardaway is just so popular. I mean, all the kids even today wear his sneakers. The foam posits are very, very popular in the urban community. All the kids have those. Those are sneakers, and it's just, it makes it very difficult. I guess not difficult, but I guess it becomes hard to um, think that with someone that has those type of connections, that type of money, that type of influence, especially with the young people, um, that everything was going to be an up and up. It just didn't really seem like that, and ultimately that's kind of what happened. NCAA deemed this kid ineligible, essentially because the head coach had paid for his family to move. Anthony Hardaway saying, "Well, I had no idea I was going to be the head coach." Blah blah blah. I think the fact that the college made him a head coach, knowing he was previously a booster, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me in terms of even if he was doing things right. I mean, it just creates a lot of suspicion and kind of conflict of interest essentially. So the kid gets deemed ineligible by the NCAA. He gets lawyered up. They file a lawsuit against Memphis, which is crazy because, like, all right, so Anthony Hardaway paid for this kid's family to come to move from Nashville, had him play high school AU ball. He becomes the coach. So then now his lawyer, obviously he's closely connected to Anthony Hardaway. So now the kid's lawyer sues the school where Anthony Hardaway is employed as the coach, and then he gets a emergency restraining order against the school. Actually, I forgot to add NCAA was also added to law school against the NCAA, excuse me, and the school allowing him to be able to play tonight, which is just pure craziness in my opinion. And I don't, not because I wish the kid, I don't wish that he not get to play, because it's really not his fault. It's really the fault of the adults around him. And on ESPN, they got Jalen Rose. They were talking about it, and they immediately go to this. I mean, okay, so this idea that NCAA is basically running like a slave operation. And they even make it racial and say the NCAA is just taking advantage of poor black kids and using their likeness to make money and blah blah blah. And the reality is this: is you don't have to play in college today to make the NBA, especially a kid like this. He could have sat up the whole year; he'd still be number one pick. He could have went overseas and played. He could have just like LaMelo Ball, R.J. Barrett. There's many options. He played at Memphis because Anthony Hardaway wanted him to play at Memphis because Anthony Hardaway wants to win a national championship. And Anthony Hardaway, through his choices and his desires, ended up putting the kid in a kind of a situation. Now he'll still be the number one pick even if he doesn't play another game. But now the kid is under all this type of unnecessary scrutiny, and I'm sure there's more to follow. And it's definitely all the NCAA. Well, here's the thing: like, okay, we know the NCAA it makes a lot of money off of the players, and the players don't get paid. All right, but there's years where there's a white player who's the top player in college, and or may have the top jersey or whatever, or play for Duke. That's happened many times in the past. Tristan Leitner, Jimmy Fredette, Adam Harrison at Gonzaga. Dante Devincino from Villanova when he won the finals. So it's not just black kids that's being profited on. all players are being profited on. So if we want to talk about the issue of NCAA paying players and all that, that's a conversation that I feel like is valid, but it's not a racial issue. And here's the reality: if you're a top ranked recruit, trust and believe you're not eating uh you know toast for dinner. You know what I'm saying? Like for instance, University of Louisville, those players they have a whole basketball player facility where they have access to food 24/7 as much as they want. And that goes on at the vast majority, I'd say, of the top 50 programs. So these kids are not starving. And most of the top players, they're getting paid anyway. So it reeks of agendas, and everyone is using these kids to promote whatever specific agenda, whether they want to say it's racism, whether they want to say, well, this and that. And ultimately, it's the kids who end up suffering because decisions that they make for the basketball career are being guided by adults who are ultimately going to do the best for them. NCAA is going to do what's best for them. Anthony Hardaway is going to do best for them. The lawyer is going to do what's best for them. Memphis is going to do what's best for them. So, but we don't talk about that grand picture, and we don't see how a lot of times, yes, there's more than white people that's in control of and have these positions. There wasn't no white person that got this player in this situation. It was Anthony Hardaway. He's black. And does Anthony Hardaway really need anything off of any kid? If Anthony Hardaway never became the coach at Memphis, is he still not a legendary player? His place in the game of basketball is already established, but you end up getting beside yourself. We get a situation like this. So it'll be interesting how to play out. Obviously, the NCAA is supposedly supposed to be starting to play players, allow them to make money off their likeness. So I think once that happens, we'll see less of these situations. Because, this kid, he doesn't have to play in college. But the only benefit of him playing in college is essentially benefiting Anthony Hardaway and Memphis as a byproduct. But now Memphis, where does Memphis end and Anthony Hardaway begin? Are they two separate entities? How can you have a lawyer for a kid that you basically brought there? So obviously, I'm sure that lawyer has a connection with Anthony Hardaway. How the hell are they gonna sue the NCAA and the school which employs him? We'll see if we'll see what happens with him in terms of his coaching status. But this is just kind of a byproduct of this whole AAU system, man. And everybody gets mad that I keep talking about it. But it's very destructive, and it takes the purity out the game. And it hurts kids and hurts families, and it just creates just a lot of confusion. While we're on that, Earl Watson, who was the coach of the Phoenix Suns last year, is talking about load management. We had a whole controversy with Kawhi Leonard sending out games, and he said, load management's not an NBA problem. It's a byproduct of kids playing 125 games every year, AAU games. Since they're, in the fifth and sixth grade. So by the time kids get to the NBA, they break down. Look at Zion Williamson. How many AAU games did he play unnecessarily? Like, everyone knew his talent and skill level. He could play less those games, but now he finally gets to the NBA, and, from the very beginning, from Summer League, all he does is get hurt because he's been over. He didn't even have to play at Duke. Played at Duke, got hurt. All right, because these kids, because at the end of the day, they have to play all these games to justify the fees that these AAU coaches are charging for their kid, for parents to pay. So, if the more games you play, the more money you can charge. They don't care if the kid's tired or it's going to hurt them. It's all about them making money. All right, so just a lot going on as it relates to this stuff. I've been speaking about it for a while. Time, as time continues to go by, things that I'm saying become more and more apparent. And we start to see these things, and you can choose to be blind or you can live in reality of the situation. We'll continue to watch the situation closely. Okay.